Have you ever felt like crying, but nothing came out? No tears, no sobs, just silence, like your emotions were trapped inside your chest, locked behind invisible walls. If you've ever felt that way, you're not broken, you're not weak, and you're not alone. This is what psychologists call emotional suppression, and it's one of the quietest, most misunderstood forms of psychological pain. Today, we're diving into the truth behind this silent struggle, why we cry without tears, what it really means, and how to understand the pain that hides beneath a still face and dry eyes. Because sometimes the deepest pain leaves no trace at all. Let's begin. The cry you can't cry. Have you ever had that feeling in your throat? That heavy tightness in your chest? You feel something rising, an emotion, a sadness, a pressure, but nothing comes out. You want to cry, but the tears, they don't fall. It's as if your body is trying to protect you from your own pain. Psychologists say this is involuntary emotional suppression. It happens when your brain decides that expressing emotion might be dangerous, shameful, or simply too much to handle right now. So it shuts you down. Not because you're weak, but because you've been strong for far too long. Emotional numbness, when feeling hurts too much. Over time, if you've been through enough trauma, grief, abandonment, emotional neglect, your mind starts protecting itself by disconnecting. This is called emotional numbing. It's like your brain builds a barrier between you and your feelings. And while this helps you survive, it slowly silences your inner world. You may still laugh, you may still work, you may still smile in front of people, but inside, you're not feeling much at all. You want to cry. You know you should cry, but there's nothing there. This is the body's way of saying, I've carried too much for too long. I need rest. Childhood roots, where it all begins. Let's go deeper. Many people who cry without tears learned it in childhood. If you were raised in an environment where emotions were unsafe, where crying was punished, mocked or ignored, your brain adapted. You learned to bottle it up, to be strong, to not be dramatic, to hide your sadness behind a mask of silence. Even as an adult, those patterns don't disappear. They live in your nervous system. You don't cry because your body was trained not to, not because you don't feel. And this silent conditioning can follow you for life, unless you recognize it and heal it. Why some people can't cry anymore. So why do some people reach a point where they physically can't cry, even during heartbreak, loss, or deep loneliness? Here are a few psychological reasons. 1. Chronic stress. Long-term emotional pressure can exhaust your nervous system, making it hard to access emotional release. 2. Depression. In many people, depression doesn't look like tears. It looks like flatness, disconnection, and emotional emptiness. 3. Emotional exhaustion. After too much grief or trauma, your brain numbs the emotional channels to avoid collapse. 4. Alexithymia, a psychological condition where a person has trouble identifying or expressing emotions. So if you feel the pain but the tears never come, it's not your fault. You're not being dramatic. You're not cold. You're coping, silently but deeply. The psychology of silent grief. Grief doesn't always show up the way we expect. Sometimes it screams, sometimes it breaks you open, and sometimes it just sits there quietly inside your chest, tight, unspoken, and heavy. This is silent grief. It happens when you lose something or someone important, but you don't give yourself the permission, space, or safety to truly mourn. You push it down, you move on, you say, I'm fine, but your body remembers. Your nervous system remembers, and that invisible grief becomes a permanent weight you carry, even if no one sees it. Crying inside, what it feels like. Let's talk about what it actually feels like to cry without tears. It feels like a tight throat, a heavy chest, a lump you can't swallow, an overwhelming need to break down, but nothing happens. A silent scream in your soul. This is internal crying, and in many ways, It's harder than visible sadness because the world doesn't recognize it. You don't get comfort. You don't get hugs or understanding. People don't ask if you're okay. They assume you are okay, but inside, you're breaking. Emotional bottling and its consequences. When you bottle emotions, they don't go away. They sit there beneath the surface, building pressure, and eventually they leak out. Not through tears, but through anxiety, irritability, sleepless nights, emotional shutdown, relationship struggles, physical tension. Unreleased emotions are like a soda. Can you keep shaking without ever opening it? One day it explodes. So when your body stops crying, it might be a sign that it's holding too much. Why we pretend we're fine. Many of us are experts at pretending. We smile, we laugh, we go to work, we make jokes, and deep down, we're drowning. Why do we do it? Because vulnerability is scary. Because we fear judgment. Because we don't want to burden others. Because somewhere along the way, we were taught that being emotional, being weak. But the truth, it takes strength to feel. It takes courage to break. And healing only happens when we stop pretending. The unseen battles people fight. Here's a truth we often forget. Everyone is fighting a battle you can't see. The quiet girl who seems okay, she cries herself to sleep. The strong man who's always smiling, he hasn't felt real happiness in months. The one who's always there for others. They feel invisible. You never know who's walking around with dry eyes and a shattered heart. So be kind. Not everyone bleeds on the outside. How to start feeling again. If you've lost the ability to cry, if your emotions feel locked away, there's hope. Here are steps that can help. 1. Name your feelings. Even if you can't cry, begin by identifying what you're feeling: sadness, anger, fear, emptiness. 2. Write it out. Journaling allows your emotions to surface safely. 3. Breathe into your body. Mindful breathing helps reconnect your mind and body. 4. Talk to someone. Even one safe conversation can begin to thaw the emotional freeze. 5. Let go of shame. Not crying doesn't mean you don't care. It means you've been hurt deeply, and that deserves compassion. The healing power of safe space. Sometimes people finally cry, not because of pain, but because someone gave them permission to. A safe space, a warm presence. No judgment, just acceptance. If you can find that space, whether in a friend, a therapist, or even in your own journal, it can unlock years of frozen emotion. Sometimes you don't need answers. You just need someone to say, "I see you, I hear you." You're allowed to feel. Real strength, feeling without fear. Society teaches us to hide our feelings, to be tough, to keep it together. But real strength is in letting go. Real power is in being vulnerable without shame. And if you've survived emotional pain silently, if you've carried your grief without tears, if you've shown up for others when no one showed up for you, you are stronger than most will ever understand. But you don't have to be silent forever. Final reflections, from numbness to healing. If you cry without tears, if your heart aches quietly, know this: your pain is valid. Your feelings are real. Your healing matters. Crying isn't weakness, it's release. And even if you can't cry now, your tears are still inside you, waiting for safety, waiting for space, waiting for the right moment. So be gentle with yourself. One day those tears will come, and when they do, let them fall. Thank you for staying with me through this emotional journey. If you related to anything in this video, please know you're not alone. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not too sensitive. You're not too emotional. You're just human. And your story deserves to be felt. If this touched you, share it with someone else who might be hiding silent pain. And as always, be kind to yourself and let your heart breathe. Until next time, take care of your soul.